Hello and welcome to another episode of Fintech Focus TV with me, Toby. Today, I'm absolutely delighted to be joined by Kerim Derhalli from Invstr. How are you?
Hey Toby, I'm really well. Great to be on your show.
Oh, look, it's lovely to have you all the way from Devon. I hear today as well. We've seen people
Yeah,
from all over the country, all over the world at the moment, hiding out in various places. How is it down there?
It's wonderful. I mean, actually, Devon, we've been camped out in Devon since before the lockdown, so we kind of snuck out to the countryside early. We made our own decision to leave London early, and it's been really lucky. I mean, Devon's been one of the parts of the country that's been the least affected, so glad we came down here.
Well, it's a lovely part of the world, and I'm glad everyone's right down there. So, look, I think you've got a really interesting business, and look, as much as it's difficult to talk about this sometimes, the pandemic has actually brought out some of the best conditions for the business as well. And I don't want people to be embarrassed about talking about that, because I think it's great to see some positive stories when there's so many negatives around there, and that's been the theme of a lot of these conversations that we've been having. But before we go into that and talk about how you've grown and all the stories from it, give us a little bit of background, if you would, about you and the business and where you are today.
All right, fantastic. So, look, I spent 30 years as an investment banker, believe it or not, from 1983 to 2012. And in those 30 years, I was really fortunate. I got to live and travel all over the world, managed several multi-billion-dollar businesses, really got to experience each and every financial asset class, all the major financial asset classes, got to know how the financial markets work really well on a global basis. So it was a really privileged experience. And then about 9 years ago, I had this idea that the advent of cloud computing, mobile technology, and social networks actually created the perfect set of technologies to expose as many people as possible to the world of investing, and to really open up investing to a very large audience. I mean, up until then, I think it had been a little bit of an insider's game, and I saw there was an opportunity using this technology to open up investing to loads and loads of people. And so starting about 7 years ago, we created Invstr. We've been building the platform ever since. We launched our latest version of Fantasy Finance in December of 2018. And last year, we managed to reach almost 1 million people in over 200 countries around the world. So it's grown super fast. Huge engagement, lots of fun. And it's gone really well.
And is that to plan? Did you anticipate getting to that sort of levels? Were you always confident of that, or is this ahead of schedule?
I mean, almost nothing goes to plan. So it's one of the things you realize. You can plan as much as you like, but I think the thing that that surprised us was just how broadly you can reach an audience on a global basis. I mean, that's one of the most remarkable things. Our team is dispersed across the US, Europe, and in Turkey as well, actually. And it just amazes us how easily you can reach loads of people all around the world.
Tell us about that. What's the concept behind having an international team in those locations?
I think what we've tried to do, and I know this is your business, right? But what we've tried to do is to source talent wherever we have access to talent. And so people say to me, we have a dev team in Istanbul, and people say, why did you choose Turkey? And it just so happens that my CTO is based in Turkey. He was running a very large software company, and he and I partnered up together to kind of effectively co-found Invstr. And he had access to about a couple of hundred, super talented engineers. And so, we set up the business in Istanbul. I mean, I'm sure there are lots of talented engineers. I know there are lots of talented engineers in London as well, but we had better access to them in Turkey than we did in London.
With cost, I imagine, another consideration.
Cost. I mean, I think it's more about quality. It's about, getting access to good people. Maybe we should have been working with you more to kind of get access to people in London. But it's actually getting, I think for us, it's less about cost. It's more about experience and quality. And so we've got a really highly experienced team, really, fabulous engineers, and they happen to be based in Istanbul. It was when I was running the global equity business at Deutsche Bank, we had 35 offices around the world. And, my CTO was our software partner in our local Turkish business as one of the best technology partners that we had globally. And that's why I reached out to him and kind of we partnered up together.
Yeah, I think that's interesting. It's a massively valid point, isn't it? That there's this long-held thought about cost versus versus talent, and you've seen the outsourcing and offshoring of various different areas, and I think it's so important that we've seen so many times buy cheap, buy twice, but there are so many good tech hubs in certain areas. We're seeing a lot in Portugal at the moment, a little bit in Barcelona and Madrid. We're seeing some stuff out in Poland, and some really and very rarely is it about Albania as well. Very rarely is it we're seeing that about pure cost alone. It's been it's been access to talent and that strong dev talent, and in particular has been one of those sort of core sort of areas, and that's helped fuel the business, I presume.
No, it's all about people. We're a relatively small organization. We've got huge ambition. And the way you achieve that is by having the right people on board. It's always about having the right people. I mean, if you make, the worst decisions I made is, when I've recruited people who just weren't the right fit for us. I'm sure they're a good fit for other companies, but they just weren't the right fit for us. And those are decisions that hold you back. And the best decisions, you make are the decisions you make about who you bring into the team. And really having it work as a team is just fundamental. I mean, I'm a big believer that if you can get talented people together with, diverse, talented people together and have them work effectively, together as a team, you can do amazing things. It's been kind of my experience throughout my career. You'd rather have, a team of B+ people working really well together than a team of A+ people, kind of all prima donnas. So it's both about experience, it's about quality of the individual, but as much as anything else, it's also about attitude. It's about attitude and having people work, with you for the right reasons, that they believe, increasingly today, you want people who believe in what you're doing. And so many, people in my team have said, look, I really believe in what we're doing. Whether it's, junior people, older people, they said, I believe in what we're doing and I'm excited about, to be part of it. And that's, you can't buy that. I mean, that's just really, really precious.
Oh, it's absolutely. And one of the things, we run a magazine called The Financial Technologist every year. Right. Within that, we do the Ultimate FinTech Workplace Awards, where we're looking at companies there and what makes them stand out as employers. And there are themes that run through all of that. And one of the core things, and we see Simon Sinek talk about this at various different stages, is that purpose. People who are tied to a bond, people who want to be doing something that makes a difference. And that's exactly what you're talking about there. I think what your business is so interesting, why your business is so interesting, and why I'm sure it acts as a magnet for that great talent to come towards it, is you're doing something that makes a difference, not only just in terms of tech, but also on a social level. Tell us a little bit about financial education and what you're doing and how you're helping move the needle a little bit here.
So if we take a step back, I mean, one of my core beliefs is that financial sustainability is as big a risk to our society as environmental sustainability is to our planet, right? What we've been doing as a society, and we've accelerated it during this crisis, is we borrow money, we spend it. And when you do that, what you're effectively saying is we care about today more than we care about tomorrow. And if you're a politician, you can understand, why politicians care about today more than they care about tomorrow. If you're a younger person and you're one of those people that's got to pay off all of that debt in the future, you've got to be thinking, how are we going to pay off all of this debt in the future? And, the answer is to do the reverse of that, which is instead of borrowing today and spending, and effectively by doing that, you're stealing from the future. You do the reverse of that, which is to invest today and create more value in the future. So for us, investing is the answer to this huge financial sustainability problem that we've got. $250 trillion worth of debt in the world that's gone up by over $100 trillion since the debt crisis, ironically. So then you look at, say, well, who's going to make those investments? You look at governments. What are governments doing? They're borrowing and spending. What are companies doing? They're borrowing and spending. And where they do invest, they invest in M&A. They buy other companies or they buy their own shares back. They're not really investing in productive capacity. So the burden falls on the individual. It's on, the household part of the economy. They're the people that effectively are left holding the bag, and they're the ones who have to invest because they can't rely on, government or companies to do the investing. And the problem that individuals have when it comes to investing is they don't know how. And so for us, this is just a massive need in the marketplace for people to build the confidence and the knowledge. So as a fintech, we focused on financial education because we think that by educating as many people as possible to be successful investors in a sustainable way and teaching them the right practices, that we can help do our bit to solve this financial sustainability problem that we've got as a society. So that's been our focus. The other way of putting it is that we think that in order to build your financial capital, you've got to build your human capital. If you want to build your financial capital sustainably, you've got to build your human capital. And so many other fintechs, what they're doing is they're empowering people to buy and sell things, and that is fine. But what you've got to do is you've got to empower people to buy and sell things with good knowledge, good understanding of what they're doing, so that they learn and they can become better and better at it. So what we've done is we've really focused on financial education. We've implemented 3 main parts of the platform that, we think will help people, learn how to invest. And the critical thing is you've got to make, financial education, financial literacy, it sounds kind of pompous and serious. You've got to make it fun. You've got to make it social. And so that's what we've done. So one of the first things we did was to build a game. It's called Fantasy Finance. And Fantasy Finance is a portfolio management game. Everyone gets $1 million of fake money to invest. And it's very addictive. It's a lot of fun because the markets are moving, literally second to second. Your P&L is moving second to second. Your returns are moving second to second. And so it gets people into the game of investing, so to speak. And it is just a game. They're not risking real money. So you can afford to make mistakes. You can afford to have some fun because you're not putting your livelihood on the line. But what we do in the game is we help people learn, some fundamental things, that investing is about generating a return on your capital. It's not just about dollars and cents. It's about generating a return because you want to make money consistently over time. That's the key to investing. And that in order to do that, you need to be diversified because that's how you preserve your financial capital. That's how you don't get whipped around as the markets. So you want to be diversified. And also you don't want to be over trading, because when you over trade, you burn up your emotional capital as well. That's the thing that people sometimes ignore. If you're in the market and your emotions are going crazy, I'm making money, I'm losing money, I'm making money, I'm losing money, that's exhausting. And so we actually ration the number of trades that people can have in a day. And even despite that, we get over 1 million trades going through the platform a month. So we have the game, which makes it fun. We have a leaderboard system, and we give out $2,000 of cash at the end of every month. So we make it competitive, and the leaderboard also is a way to discover other people. And we built an entire social network. So I could follow you. I could look at Toby's portfolio, see how he's doing, decide I want to follow you. And then I'd see what you're posting and what trades you're doing in the feed. I could create a private league with you if I want to create a smaller community. I can direct message you. So we built all of these social tools to enable people to connect and communicate with each other, fundamentally to learn from each other, because peer-to-peer learning is a really powerful mechanism. And it's the thing that the younger generations love to do. They love to learn from each other rather than kind of so-called experts or people who've been around for a while. And then the third part of the platform, major part of the platform, is something that we call Invstr Academy. Because yes, it's fun to learn by playing. It's great to learn from your peers and other people. But also there is some formal stuff that you want to learn. And so we built an academy. It's 86 lessons organized into 10 modules. You can like a lesson, you can add commentary. So it's still somewhat interactive. At the end of every lesson, there's a practice question. At the end of every module, there's a quiz. You get trophies, you get a certificate at the end. So and it's structured in a way that it starts assuming zero knowledge, kind of what's investing. And it takes you all the way through what's a business, what's the economy, how do the markets work, who's involved in the market, what do I need to do to become a good investor, what do I need to look out for when I open a brokerage account and start trading real money. So it takes you step by step through this process in a way that any teenager can understand. And at the end of it, the idea is people will really have that confidence. Now, the interesting thing is the people who go through the academy, 5,000 people go through our academy. the people who go through our academy make on average 30% more per month than the people who don't go through the academy. So there's clearly some value that they're getting out of this. But these are the main pillars. So we've invested a lot in helping people build their human capital, because the buying and selling is kind of the trivial bit, right? Anyone can buy and sell, right? I mean, that's easy. I mean, that's financial technology that is not complicated to put in place. It's creating that experience, that social, fun, learning experience. That's been the real challenge, and that's the thing that we've really focused on.
Tell me who's it aimed at? What sort of level of individual you look? I mean, is it? I mean, you mentioned before young and old, etc., etc. Is it really anyone and everyone, or are you aiming
it is
at
anyone and everyone? You know, we've got when you look at the platform, you know, we've got grandparents on the. You know, I've met socially people who say, I come across this great app, Investr. I've got my kids on it. It's fantastic. We're all learning how to invest, and I said, well, actually, we built that. I mean, that's great.
That must be brilliant, huh?
Yeah, no, it was funny. We've got college professors who are using it, you know, to teach their students. We've got investment clubs in schools, you know, using Investr to create a private league so they can have some fun, challenging each other, you know, competitive element while they're learning at the same time. So we've got so many different kinds of people on the platform. The majority of people, you know, 13 to 34 is about 80% of our audience. So it's targeted mainly at younger people. 75% of the people who come onto our platform say they're new to investing and they want to learn. I mean, that's the main driver. So it does tend to be, you know, naturally, because it's a mobile app, it tends to target more younger people, but it's open to everyone. And having actually that mix of, you know, some slightly older people and lots of younger people, I think works really well, because everyone's got a different experience. We've got a property billionaire who's on the platform who's addicted to it. I mean, he hides when he's using the app, because I think, you know, he's afraid his wife is you know, will think he's having an affair with someone. So he hides on it, and he says, look, I was using all the stocks and things that I knew, and I was doing really badly. And then I started getting involved with the community and figuring out, you know, what these younger people were doing. And I started following some of them, and he went to the top of the leaderboard. So that exchange of information, knowledge, it works both ways, because when you think about, you know, the younger generations, they're far more in touch with the tech sector, with retail, with crypto than, you know, traditional older. I don't want to be ageist about this, but older asset managers, you know, sitting in New York or Boston or London or wherever it is. You know, the younger guys seem to be, you know, more in tune with what's going on in the technological space, because they're living and breathing it a lot more than people who kind of maybe grown up with, you know, older industries, older sectors.
Yeah.
And in fact, you know, I mean, Kate, as an example, when everyone was trying to go short Tesla in the early part of the year, you know, Wall Street lost over $10 billion being short Tesla. On average, anyone on our platform who was long Tesla, anyone who's trading Tesla made 10%, because they were all long, because, I mean, people believe passionately in Tesla. If you're a young person, you believe passionately in Tesla. It's the future. If you're an older asset manager, you think Tesla's hyped and it's overpriced and I'm going to go short of it. So our community was making money hand over fist in Tesla. Wall Street was losing money hand over fist in Tesla. And, you know, it's really interesting to see there's almost been this transfer. I mean, I call it a transfer of leadership in the financial markets from older investors to younger investors, or maybe newer investors, you know, people coming in. I mean, they're the ones who seem to be more in control of the markets. They're the ones supposedly, you know, who drove the markets up, you know, when we're back in March, when we were at the lows, they all piled in. They saw this is a massive sale. First time in our lives, we've seen Wall Street down 40%. It's cheap. We're going to pile in. And they piled in and they bought it. And, you know, US government was giving everyone $1,200 in COVID, you know, money. So they all piled in and they bought the market, and it went through the roof. So it's really, I mean, some of these trends is really fascinating to see. But so for us, it's been more about the younger generations, but we've got, you know, people who started investing, you know, later in their lives. Our philosophy is that anyone can be an investor. In fact, we're all natural investors. And it doesn't matter how old or young you are. I mean, you can be 60 years old, 70 years old, 80 years old, or you can be 15 or 25 or 35. It really doesn't matter. And that we're all, you know, we can all learn how to invest in the same way we learn to play a sport or a musical instrument, for example. And that's what we're trying to encourage. We're trying to make it super accessible, super easy, fun, social, interactive for people to learn. And not only to do the buying and selling, but to learn and to feel good about themselves. That's really what we want, what we want people to do. And I mean, we get so many comments that, there's like a typical comment is, I downloaded Invstr to play the game, just to have a bit of fun playing a game. And I started playing the game, and actually it really got me interested in investing. And I started doing all these other things. I joined the community, I went through the academy, and now I love investing. And that for us is the perfect user journey. And so the game is there to draw people in, to show people actually financial markets.
The Trojan horse.
It's a little bit. It's the Trojan horse, but it's fun. It's like this beautiful. It's fun. It's exciting. It's thrilling. It's bouncing up and down. You're not risking any real money, so it's a lot better. And you go in, you say, "Wow, actually, I can do this. I'm having fun, and now I want to do more." So it kind of just it whets your appetite. You want to do more, and then you discover there are hundreds of thousands of other people that you can learn from. There's an academy, there's content, and it's all there, at your fingertips. And we take people through this journey, and we're creating investors in a way, and that's our mission. And it's just really gratifying to see that happen.
I want to talk on that because we spoke about purpose before, and you just mentioned that's your mission. You've been in the investment banking world for 30 years. You mentioned at the start, yeah. So 30 years doing that, and then you start this off with a very clear purpose and mission around that.
Yeah.
How much of that was how much of it was here's an opportunity and it's a great business opportunity where we can expand and grow something, and make money from it. No apologies there. And how much was it is actually this is our responsibility, our duty. We've got something here where we can make a genuine difference. And how do you balance the two?
I think it's a combination of the two. And I think the world has fundamentally changed. In the past, companies would be profit maximizers. They make as much money as they could, however they could. And there's all kinds of things that probably shouldn't have happened. Environmental pollution, stuff like that. And then almost as a guilt trip, they say, well, we're going to do some corporate social responsibility thing and we're going to pay some money back. That model, in my view, doesn't work, right? The younger generations now see through it completely. So if you're doing CSR on the side, it doesn't work, totally inappropriate. I think the consumer today is going to say to companies, if you're doing good for society and you're doing something worthwhile and your impact on society is net positive, we will allow you to make money, right? We will support you, will allow you to make money. And so to my mind, having a strong social purpose is what you need in order to make money, right? You can't separate the two anymore. I think, companies that don't have a strong social purpose at their core will not be sustainable in the long run. Only those companies that have a strong social purpose at their core and really believe in what they're doing, particularly on the consumer side, will win the backing of consumers and will be allowed to make money and generate profits. And absolutely, yes, we need to make money. We're not making a lot of money at the moment. We need to make money to be sustainable ourselves. We're still in the early days of monetizing the platform. Yeah. So we need to make money to be sustainable, but we believe that by offering something that really does fulfill a social need, consumers will come to us and they say, we would rather have a bank account, a brokerage account, a crypto account on Invstr than on any other platform that is just trying to make money out of us.
Yeah. I think that just speaking about those various different areas, and I want to touch on crypto as well. Yeah. Because I've seen various iterations of crypto and gold rushes at various different stages, and I've seen people plow money they didn't have into that particular area and with very little knowledge and lose it. I can say that from people who I know very well, people I've worked with in the past. They look at it and they think, right, okay, here's particularly in our business, looking at financial technology recruitment, there was a whole gaggle of people, right, who suddenly saw crypto a couple of years ago take a huge spike, and they invested money that probably they didn't have at that sort of stage or shouldn't have had at that sort of stage into it, and it caused them incredible problems. When it crashed and they didn't know what they were doing, they were just following a get rich quick scheme. Yeah. to me, I think there's something here where you can add, I always think of the bowling alleys where you can put those things up along the side and it bounces the ball and make sure you hit the pins at the end. Is that how you guys see seeing yourself? Are you adding that responsibility to that? And how do you do that with something as complex and volatile as a crypto? Because you trade crypto right, you're doing really well. You trade it wrong, you're losing a lot of money, right?
Yeah, look, so going back to one of our core principles, you need to be diversified. So what we do in fantasy finance is, in the core version, in the basic version of the game, you can only put 10% of your money into any single instrument. And if you put more than 30% of your money into a single asset class or a single sector, or more a particular sector, then we say, we don't stop you doing it, but we put up a red flag, literally red flag, and say, look, just be careful what you're doing. You're overexposed in a particular sector. So we're trying to drum into people's heads the concept of being diversified, because when you're diversified, you can withstand that volatility in a particular part of your portfolio. It gives you stamina. So investing, we think of investing as a marathon, not a sprint, right? You've got to preserve your financial, emotional capital for the long duration, and diversification is the way to do that. We've also done analytical, quantitative studies on crypto to say, what is the value of crypto in a portfolio? And the results are, very, very clearly that if you have between, let's say, 1% and 5%, you can increase the return on your portfolio and reduce its volatility. So you can, in classical theory, you can push your portfolio out to the efficient frontier. So there is a role for crypto. We believe in every portfolio, but it's 5%. It's not 100%, right? If you put 100% of your money in crypto, then watch out for the consequences. Unless you could be lucky, right? And that's the worst thing, is you're lucky, the thing goes up and you think you're a genius, and you put all your money into it. So next thing that happens, it's down 30%, 1 month, and you're crying. So you could be lucky, but we think, there is a role for crypto in a portfolio. We think it's around 5%. We've done our homework to demonstrate that. And that's what we try and do, is to encourage people to invest in a way that's going to give them a good return sustainably over the long term, and not kind of get rich quick type of approach to investing.
Yeah, which is, I think, the absolutely important part of the responsible way of doing that. We touched on this as well before. The pandemic's had a sort of petrol on the bonfire outlet for a number of different areas, tech in particular.
Yeah.
In your world, look, I imagine there's been more idle thumbs. There's been more people who are interested in doing more stuff. I imagine there's also been less liquid cash for people to be doing things with as well. Right. Tell us about the impact of what's happened to you and your business as a result of COVID.
Sure. Look, we saw a spike in downloads. I mean, we definitely saw more people joining the platform, spike in activity. Particularly when people were locked down and they didn't have other things to do. So game activity went up, and social activity went up, and it stayed high. And that's the interesting thing. So we've seen the social engagement, the number of chats, posts, likes, comments, direct messages, etc., literally doubled since March, and it stayed at that level. So the level of dialogue, the level of interaction has gone up. We're getting up to 1,000 downloads a day organically on our platform, pure word of mouth. So we're kind of excited about that. And so there's definitely been an increase. It's partly, as you say, idle thumbs. It's also partly people looking at the markets and realizing, wow, there's stuff going on here. I mean, things are moving up and down a lot. I need to get involved in this. And the great thing about Invstr and fantasy, our game Fantasy Finance, is that you can get involved in all the excitement without risking real money. So you can get involved and you can start to learn about investing and understand, all the hype in a safe way. So, and then, yes, we enable people to open brokerage accounts as well when they're ready. But the nice thing is you can get involved in a safe way. You can have some fun. You can engage with the community. You can learn. And we've seen just huge demand for that. Through the crisis.
Community is such a fascinating area right now, isn't it? And I still think it's been underserved. I've always been fascinated with Mark Benioff and Salesforce and how they sort of leverage the power of community. I read a book recently called Group, which is a fascinating insight into the power of networks and the exponential growth that comes out of that as well. And the wisdom of the crowd, I guess, is exactly what you're talking about right here with
exactly what we're talking about.
Those words. Yeah. So tell us what the thinking was behind that. Was it always part of the strategy? Was it something where you said, look, this is something which we can really leverage?
Yeah, look, social has been at the core of everything that we do. Yeah. And because, my belief has always been financial markets are fundamentally about people, and it's all about connecting people. So if you can connect people to collaborate, then you can create so much more value for them. So everything we do has a social angle. You can post your photograph and your location like you can on any other social network. You can share a chart, you can annotate it, put up a comparison chart, a technical chart. You can share a news article, you can share your portfolio. Everything is shareable. Everything that we built is shareable. And by default, when you trade in the game, we automatically share your trades to the community so that people who are following you can see what you're doing. That's the whole point of it. We want people to learn from the portfolios and the trades that other people are doing. That's part of the learning experience. So the sharing social bit is right at the core of everything that we do. When it comes to real money, our default mode is we keep real money private. But the interesting thing, that's going on in the world is that increasingly money that used to be so private is now becoming public. So if you go to chat rooms and other places, students in particular, they're talking about the amount of debt they've got, and they're asking other people, look, I've got all this debt. What do I do? How do I pay my debt down? What have you done? People increasingly want to talk about, their story. So in our feed, people, will share a fancy finance trade, and they'll say, look, in my real portfolio, I also bought Tesla and I bought it at this price. And should I hold on to it? Should I not hold on to it? And so sharing and the social aspects on our platform have always been core to the product design. From a business design point of view, they've also become core as well, because in a world in which financial services are offered at zero, there's no commission, right? We live in a commission-free world. You want to drive down your costs as much as possible. One of the biggest costs is acquiring users. And so one of the best ways to acquire users is to create a viral impact and to create word of mouth. So if you've got a social network and you've got a community and they're all telling their friends and family, hey, download Invstr, that drives down our acquisition costs. And we think our acquisition costs are a fraction of the other major fintechs in the world today. I mean, they're up to 90% lower than some of our direct competitors because we've got a social network. So for us, social fulfills a number of purposes. It's a critical part of the user experience, and it's a critical part of our business model. And implementing, and it's really hard to do well. It's super hard to do social, right? It's that's why it's taken us 6 years to really build this out well with a relatively small team. Our CTO complains. He said, I don't have 8,000 engineers like some of these big social networks. I've got 12. And so, with what we've managed to achieve with a relatively small team is really quite remarkable. So it's really, really hard to do, but if you can do it, I was listening to a podcast, one of the blue chip VCs in the world. This is their core thesis around fintech, and they have a podcast called When Fintech Meets Social. And they're saying if you can marry the transactional piece with the interaction piece, with the social piece, that's the holy grail. That's the holy grail of fintech, is marrying social and transactional, and that's what we're trying to do.
Doing well by the sounds of it. I mean, look, you touched on it there. It is a extraordinarily hard thing to do, and a word you used earlier on was continuity. I think consistency. And the key to social growth, as I'm sure you'll testify to, has been consistent application of things, and it is a patient game as those sort of tribes grow, isn't it? But when they do that, and the exponential power of that tribe to then pass it on and see it grow must be an immensely gratifying thing to see, and it's brilliant to see you to do that so well.
Oh, thank you so much.
Listen, it's genuinely been fascinating. I love hearing about these sort of businesses, and I love hearing about businesses that are doing something different and adding real value to it, and that social purpose is I think it's so relevant to what's happening at the moment. For people who are listening to this and want to find out a little bit more and get involved, what's the best way of them doing that?
Well, obviously, download Invstr, get in the game, join our community.
I'm on that straight away.
Download. It's free to download. It's on both the Apple App Store and Google Play Store. If you want to kind of check out a little bit more about what we have to offer, then go to our website, invstr.com. And you can always reach out to me via LinkedIn or my email, kerim.derhalli@invstr.com. So
and we'll be tagging you into this and making sure that we help through social channels this go as far and wide as we can possibly get it as well. It's been really brilliant talking to you. Thanks so much for your for sharing, and enjoy Devon. Whereabouts are you in Devon?
Just in a small town called Dawlish, just south of Exeter.
I know Dawlish very well. Very well. I spent a bit of time in Exmouth, just over the water there, just over the estuary.
You're right next door. It's fantastic.
There's actually one of the guys over there who's on his way to Topsham this weekend. So
fantastic.
Maybe you'll see. There's a whole other story in there. Absolutely. Listen, Kerim, it's been wonderful talking to you. Thanks so much for sharing the investor story. I wish you nothing but massive success with it, as I'm sure it will continue to do so. And thank you all for watching. We hope to see you soon on another episode of Fintech Focus TV. Thanks a lot.
Thanks, Toby.